Hello, welcome to Heroes for Sale. It's episode 4. This is the show where we examine the geeky underbelly of the city and we offer you the best and most tasty bits for your own personal edification. This week we're going to be looking at horror comics with Ilan, and we've also got Dave Ross in, who's going to take us through some action figures and the world of collectibles, isn't it, Dave?
Indeed, yes.
So, I mean, you've got a shop down on Duke Street.
Yes, we have,
The Duke Street Bazaar.
Duke Street Bazaar, yeah.
And you've been collecting figures for as long as I've known, because we've known each other since we were 14.
I don't think I ever stopped, really.
No.
Probably 30 years now, isn't it? Been collecting action figures for, yeah.
Yeah, and you've collected a massive amount. Didn't you want to put a figure on it of about 20,000 action figures?
Yeah, probably, yeah, by now. Well, I collect G.I. Joe, don't I? And they're only small, literally smaller than the little R2-D2. They're 4-inch action figures, so yeah, tons and tons of them. I think there was 500 in the set when they came out back in the day.
Yeah. And we're excited to have on because we've been wanting to bring action figures into the show for a couple of weeks now. And as you can see, you've got a dazzling array here. We're going to be keeping people up to speed with news, but there isn't much news at the moment, is there? What we're waiting for is San Diego Comic-Con releases.
Yeah, San Diego Comic-Con, obviously upcoming in August, so we're going to all the toy manufacturers are going to hold back all the new product for that.
Yeah. But we'll be getting quite a lot of different things, from everything from big re-releases to little Funko Pops.
Yeah.
Which we know you love those Funko Pops.
Love the Funko Pops, yeah. They are fantastic toys,
Yeah. But I just wanted to start the conversation off today by saying about, collecting. Why do people get into it? Because obviously I've kind of dabbled over the years, but you've got a real good understanding and imagine of why people collect things.
Well, I think it comes down to a few different points when people collect. Some people collect just purely because of nostalgia. I noticed when I was upstairs before, looking in your office, you've got the Tower of Doom sitting there. Obviously, that's from when you were a kid.
From Secret Wars, yeah.
Yeah, Secret Wars.
Yeah. It's something that my cousin gave me, actually. And so, like I say, I just remember playing with it when I was 8. And
why it hasn't been sold on you. It's a present from your cousin, yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the things I've kept a couple of things over the years. But and one of the reasons is because it kind of transports you back to that time when you were carefree, 8 or 9, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Well, that's the feedback I get when people come. But what you find is when people are collecting, or when they want something from their childhood, they want He-Man, they want Lion-O from the Thundercats, they want all the main characters. The secondary characters aren't as collectible as, like I say, He-Man, Battle Cat, Lion-O.
And it's the nostalgia, isn't it? That's one of the reasons.
Well, yeah, that's why they collect them, isn't it? They want to transport themselves back. I think having something like that on your desk, it reminds you of a time when, you were trouble-free, basically, as a child.
Yeah, well, they are like little works of art in themselves, aren't they? Especially some of these more modern ones, like this Star Wars, Luke Skywalker.
Yeah, from the Black Series, the 6-inch stuff. They're doing a really good job. I mean, with me, it's all about articulation and sculpt. If you've got those two things, then for me, it's a good figure. That's why Funko Pops are so popular with me. The Black Series, really good figures. I mean, them now, which leads us on to the next point of collecting. Another reason why people collect is value. Now, a lot of people who didn't get these were one of the first waves, either 1 or 2. But we're only talking about maybe a year or 2 old, these figures, and they've already doubled in value now. They were £20, I think, when they came out retail, and now they're probably going on the secondary market for anywhere between 40 and 50, and they're literally a couple of years old, which again leads on to another point why people collect, and it's the value, the monetary value. Some people couldn't care less about the figures or the nostalgia. That's why they collect, literally because of the monetary value. Yes.
They're like the antiques of the future in many ways, aren't they?
Yeah,
they're already getting to that level now. There's 40-year-old, 50-year-old toys like $1 Million Man or everything that have increased in value.
Well, we do a lot of toy shows, don't we, up and down the country. You've been there with me. We've been to these Barry Potter shows and all these other different...
Barry Potter
and all these other Comic Cons and things like that.
But it's mostly train tracks, isn't it?
Well, Barry Potter,
Britain,
yes.
It's only just taken off as well as another point.
Yes. Well, when you go to these Barry Potter fairs, it's a lot of toys, it's a lot of trains. Yeah. But nowadays, there's more and more action figures. I'd say it's almost a 50-50 mix now when you go to these shows. So it is the up-and-coming antique, like you were saying.
Yeah. And in particular with Star Wars, it's going to be taking off again towards the end of the year with the new film coming out.
Yeah, it's gonna be massive. It's gonna be absolutely huge. I think what you're gonna find is on the secondary market, you're gonna see a lot of these toys that people have been holding on to reach market.
Yeah. Now I know you've got a lot of knowledge because obviously I've talked to you about it over the years, and there's probably people at home there who are thinking, oh, do you know what? I've got an Ewok somewhere upstairs in the attic, or an R2-D2 or something. Can you give us and the people at home some kind of guide to things, Star Wars figures they might have in the attic, what they might be worth, what are the most popular ones, that kind of thing?
Well, the last 17 and the first 12 are always the most popular when it comes to Star Wars figures. Always the ones that increase in value the most. The last 17 on the card, they're worth a fortune. Some of them, Tri-Logo or Power of the Force. If the Power of the Force with the coin on, they're the ones that seem to be, they fetch a premium.
They go for what kind of money? Like hundreds of pounds?
Oh no, you talk for it. Well, there's a couple of different figures, but when you talk about the main rare one, which is Yak Face,
Yes.
you know, you're talking thousands for a good Yak Face on a nice card.
Well, we went over to Vegas in Comic Con two years ago, didn't we? And I remember you saying, "I've got this Yak Face," and I was laughing at you because I thought,
What is it?
You were like, "This is it. This is my keys to the big time."
Yeah.
And I do remember going into that shop in Vegas, and you got it out, and the guy's face was like, "Oh my God, it's the holy grail of figure."
Yeah, I think it took him like 30 minutes, didn't it, to sell that figure? He literally made a phone call, and that was it. It was gone.
And that's because it wasn't available in the States.
It wasn't a standard US release. It came out in Canada and obviously over here, so we were quite lucky in that way. It usually goes the other way, but in this case, we were lucky. So yeah, with regards to Star Wars and vintage figures, my advice would be always go for the premium piece. Say you've got a couple of £100 to spend, don't spend it on 4 different carded figures, spend it on one figure. Condition is everything. Yeah.
And in particular, some ones that might not go for much money, but you think they would do. Is it the more popular ones like the old school Luke Skywalker or a Darth Vader figure? Or are they all kind of worth something?
The easiest way to do it is Star Wars are always worth the most because they came out in 1977. Then you've got 81 was Empire Strikes Back, and then you've got 83 to 85, which was Return of the Jedi and Tri-Logo. And what you normally find is the Star Wars cards are always the most valuable. Jedi cards are always the least valuable. People really like the Empire Strikes Back card, so they maintain a high value as well.
Yeah, was really classic, wasn't it? And also, I know something that's popping into my mind from years gone by is Palatoy. That's something that you said is a big thing in Britain in particular, isn't it?
Yeah, any Palatoy carded figure, you're talking a lot of money now. I think a Boba Fett Empire Strikes Back card not long ago went for £18,000 at auction.
And that's because it was a British. Those toys were made in England for the
they were
British
Palatoy.
market.
Yeah, British market. Obviously, all the toys were either made in Hong Kong, Taiwan, and then they're sent over here. And all we did is repackage them. So all that's English is the packaging and the Palatoy logo. And most of the time, they literally just changed the logo. They took away the Kenner and put Palatoy over it. That's the only real difference.
But these are the kind of things that real collectors, they want that Palatoy because it's more rare.
Oh yeah, definitely. Well, if you think about it, we're a small island, so we can't have produced
we
that
do.
many.
We're
Yes,
small,
we are.
yeah.
We're only tiny, man.
Surrounded by water.
Yeah, it's everywhere. So if you think about it, we will have only produced, a finite number of these, whereas compared to Kenner, which supplied most of the world with these toys, they're going to be a lot more scarce.
And then the other reason that we've got to talk about for collecting before we wrap up this section for this week is the people want to complete their collection. It's not just the value, but there might be people who've got, say, so many He-Man characters, but they need maybe 2 or 3 more, and that's the completist.
The completist, yes. Well, that's people who collect a whole line or a whole wave or a whole assortment of figures. For example, that completist who collect He-Man vintage would want every figure from the line. They'd want every vehicle and they'd want them complete. Obviously, when I say complete, all the weapons and in good condition. Dave Johnson, the guy you've had on the show.
We have had
I'd class him as a completist. Yes. He's got the Masters of the Universe Classics line and he's pretty much got every single figure.
Well, that's something we can do in future episodes, isn't it? Is we can get some of the local collectors and bring them on, and we can have you talking to them about the various different.
Well, that's something I always like doing. I always like going in. I feel very privileged. I get to do that all the time, go in and see people's collections. But yeah, it'd be nice to get some of that on film and show people, because that's something I like watching when I'm watching YouTube vids and things like that.
Yeah, but the ultimate thing, the ultimate message as we wrap up now today is that if you're going to put your money in any collectibles at the moment, it's got to be.
Well, if you can get hold of it and you can get hold of a nice one, carded vintage Star Wars figures, I would have to say, put your money in Star Wars. That's it, yeah.
Okay, great. Well, now we're going to go over to Ilan and his horror section, where he'll take us into the deep and murky world of horror and art.
Hello horror fans, and welcome to another look into the dark end of the comic spectrum. Today I'm going to be talking to you about a brand new series by Action Labs based on the hugely successful horror franchise by Charles Band. Of course, I am talking about the Puppet Master series. Now, if you haven't seen the Puppet Master movies, it's okay, but basically, during the Second World War, Andre Toulon, master puppeteer, has discovered the secret to creating life in his puppets. Of course, the Nazis, being the Nazis, want to steal their secrets for their own evil reasons. However, Toulon stops them and then keeps his puppets a secret forever, or at least until the 80s, where they are rediscovered by somebody and then used for murderous reasons. Now, the reason that the horror franchise is such a huge success is basically because of the design of the puppets. Now, you've got the really intricate ones like Blade, who has knives instead of hands, you've got Tunneler, who has a drill for a head, and Leech Woman, my personal favourite, who regurgitates leeches. Unfortunately, Leech Woman died during the 2nd movie, but that's not a problem because she is back in the comic series. Now, the storyline itself isn't exactly Shakespeare. It's a very, very, very simple story of a bunch of killer puppets in a house. A bunch of teenagers turn up and start getting killed off one by one. This is not going to be winning any awards anytime soon, which is exactly like the movies. So if you are interested in really cheesy, kind of tongue-in-cheek horror films, then this comic series is definitely for you. Also, I highly recommend supporting it, because if you do, then hopefully Charles Band's other film franchises like Ginger Dead Man, Killjoy, and Subspecies could be created in the comics. So go to your local comic shop, pick up a copy, and if you don't like it, you don't have to buy any more, because there's no strings attached. See what I did there?
Hello, welcome back to Heroes for Sale. It's the part of the show that we call Between the Panels, where we start talking about various different things that are happening in the world of comic culture. And today I am joined by Jaleesa, who works at Worlds Apart, but also runs a very exciting social enterprise called Comics Youth, which has taken a step forward lately, hasn't it?
Yes, it has. We're actually going to start delivering sessions at the end of this month, which is really exciting. So we'll be going into our first youth centre, teaching them how to make their own comics, and then we'll be publishing them under the Comics Youth banner.
Brilliant.
So that'll be starting the end of this month.
Yeah, that's exciting. And then we're also joined by Ilan from Uncle Frank Productions, which is a Liverpool-based horror specialist company.
Yeah.
Doing all kinds of things, including...
Just all kinds of things.
All kinds of things, all you need to know.
Yeah, horror resource, so film posters, packaging, DVD menus, do all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, turn your creative hand to many things.
Yes.
As long as it's weird and creepy.
Yeah, that's pretty much me,
that's good.
all over.
Yeah, and of course you're our resident horror specialist. And this week it was very sad times, wasn't it?
Heartbreaking times.
With Christopher Lee,
Sir Christopher
sadly.
Lee.
Sir Christopher Lee, I
Get that
keep
in
getting
there.
told, Sir Christopher Lee. Yeah, the man loves him. Yeah.
Big fan. He was a hero to me, to a lot of people, I think. Obviously, kind of the face of Dracula, and yeah, so many people kind of look up to him as being like the legend that he is, and the
He did
legacy.
so
that
many
left
things over his time. He made 280 films, I was reading.
behind. Name them
this
then.
week. Yes, we could be here. Let's come back next week where I will sit and name every film in chronological order. Oh, lots of things, didn't he? But he was famous for playing Dracula, amongst other things.
Yeah.
Saruman from Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
And Count Dooku in Star Wars.
Yeah.
But for Hammer horror fans in particular, that will be a defining moment in his career.
Yeah.
What are some of the standout films as far as you can remember?
Well, as soon as I found out, kind of, I went home and I put on Scars of Dracula, which is one of my favourite Dracula movies, because it's surprisingly violent for a Hammer horror film. That's the one where he gets the blood in his eyes when he goes crazy and stuff like that. But also, you know, discovering some others that I hadn't seen before, like Rasputin the Mad Monk, which I thought was brilliant, and there's so many other ones.
I was reading, just doing some research before, that he had such a colourful life, and nobody realised, I don't think, that he actually met the real Rasputin.
What?
He lived in Russia for a bit, because he was 93 when he passed away, and he met the Mad Monk during his early life in Russia, amongst other things, seeing the last public execution in Paris. So he was, he'd had such a mad life, hadn't he? Also been in the armed forces.
Yeah.
And so, do you have any standout memories, or when you were sad, any films that stuck out in your mind?
I'd have to say Saruman, I'd have to go with Lord of the Rings, just because I'm not sure I was quite aware of him before that, to be honest. But then having someone that was on that level with Ian McKellen and having such great scenes as well in all of the films, it was lovely to see. It's made me want to go and watch The Wicker Man as well.
Yeah,
Yes.
particular favourite.
Brilliant film.
Gremlins
Gremlins 2. You've got to get Gremlins 2 out there as well. I completely forgot he was in that. And
But yeah, he was a huge Lord of the Rings fan as well. Apparently, he was a Tolkien fan. He actually met Tolkien, but he just bumped into him in a pub randomly and begged to play Gandalf. When I think the story has been around quite a lot, that he actually spoke to Tolkien and asked him for a while, and wrote to Peter Jackson, but then in the end they ended up playing Saruman. But quite a good performance all around, wouldn't you say?
Definitely.
Yeah, so a sad time then. How have the horror community reacted, would you think, apart
well,
from...
just going off my Facebook timeline, just seeing so many people change their Facebook picture to Dracula has kind of, I don't know, brought us all together, I think.
Yeah.
No, it's emotional and it's upsetting. I mean, the thing is, as somebody who wants to work on more projects, my ambition was always to one day work on a project with Christopher Lee. And unfortunately, I didn't work fast enough or hard enough. So, yeah, lost out on that opportunity, unfortunately.
Gone too soon.
Yes,
Christopher
definitely.
Lee.
Well,
Maybe-
to be fair, the legacy he's left behind is enormous. I mean, the amount of franchises he got involved in, it's breathtaking. I mean, when you said how many films he got involved in, that's I can't even fathom that many films.
Yeah. It's apparently he's more linkable than Kevin Bacon, which is 7 steps, isn't it? But apparently it's only 2.5 steps to link one actor to Christopher Lee.
Wow, that's kind of how I picture my Dracula, to be fair.
Yeah.
He kind of knows everyone. He lived like a crazy length of time, and kind of, yeah, he knew Rasputin. That's insane.
Yeah, teeth in many pies. Also, we want to talk this week, I think, taking a little bit upbeat, but also a kind of horror event, is the Jurassic World release. Such a big movie. Apparently, it's the biggest ever opening weekend, grossing $5.11 million.
Beating Avengers, is it?
It does, yeah. It does beat the Avengers and Harry Potter and so on. And of course, I haven't seen it yet, but I've watched the trailer. I've got to go and see it, and it looks like it's taken it a step forward, doesn't it, from the original Jurassic Park?
You say that, but all I got from the trailer was that it was another Jurassic movie. It was another one with dinosaurs going crazy. This time, Chris Pratt's in it. That was all I got. And there was more special effects.
Yeah, well, that's a big pull, isn't it? That must be one of the reasons why it has smashed box office records, is because Chris Pratt is such a likeable actor. Guardians of the Galaxy 2. What's your view on Chris Pratt?
Oh, I think he's wonderful. I think we haven't had an action hero that's been that likeable for a really long time. I'm really hard pressed to think of one, to be honest. But no, I think he's a big, big draw for it. I think he was for Guardians for a lot of people, especially coming from Parks and Rec on TV and then making that jump and doing it so successfully. No, I think he's great.
Yeah, it was his own backstory, really, wasn't it? Where he was, he came from being, he was he was only a bit part player in Parks and Recreation to start with, wasn't he? And then they actually increased his role because he was so popular. Yeah. And great sense of humour, lots of background, behind the scenes videos have emerged with him. But the monsters in particular, we've seen the trailers. The dinosaurs, I don't think, being a horror fan, I know that you can have this love-hate relationship, mostly hate with CGI.
Yeah, I think too much CGI takes you out of the film and you don't appreciate it as much as you do. Because obviously the original Jurassic Park, they tried to do everything with real-life special effects as much as possible. But with this one, because I haven't seen it, so I'm only going off things that I've read, but for this one, they went more for, let's just make it all CGI. So there's nothing that anyone's actually physically interacting with. So as you're watching it, no one's actually doing anything. They're just running around and pretending that there's something there. And then somebody will put it in post.
Yeah. But what are your memories from the original Jurassic Park? Because obviously that was a game changer for the whole summer blockbuster industry. It's 1993 now, which sounds like it was way back in the prehistoric era of blockbuster films, isn't it? But do you remember seeing which particular dinosaur that sticks out for you?
I remember velociraptors and being terrified, and that's about it. After that, I draw a blank. I just remember dinosaurs, being very, very afraid, and then I'm gone. Yeah. That's all I remember from the first
one. What about you?
That bit where they're blowing on the glass through the nose, I still love that scene. Yeah, it's just, all it is a big plastic head put up against the glass and then go...
I just remember lots of kids running around school like this.
And Jeff Goldblum.
Yes.
There you go. That's all you needed in the first film, and it was a brilliant film.
It was.
Brilliant film.
I mean, it stands out, doesn't it, really, amongst the other films? But I do think that the dinosaurs in this one particularly, they've gone all out because audiences these days wouldn't be shocked by the monsters from the first one, by the dinosaurs. So they've had to do this hybrid, spliced Tyrannosaurus Rex with some special other dinosaur DNA.
That's kind of a scary thought, though, that we've seen everything. We need you to invent a new species of dinosaur before we'll even be interested in it or scared of it. We've seen the Tyrannosaurus Rex too many times. We've watched 2012. We've seen every kind of natural disaster going. Make something new. Yeah. Oh, yeah, here's science monster.
Yeah, scare me.
Yeah.
But I think in the opening scene, there's a teenager in a little hideout for the Tyrannosaurus Rex park, just on his phone, like, oh, yeah, been here 2 years ago. Scare me kind of thing. Are you going to go and see it? That's the question.
Yes, I think so.
That's because of Pratt, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
I can already see it.
Yeah. From what you said, I think it's really interesting as well, because I don't think as many people would be scared by the dinosaurs in the first film. So I think that they have spliced this new one, and that in its own way, that's kind of a theory on consumerism in itself, saying that we've had to make this in the park, we've had to make the film this big, we've had to use all this CGI because people aren't interested anymore. So I think I'd see it to see that in action, really.
Yeah, it's a reference on itself, and then of course Chris Pratt is a big talking point, and he can kind of carry that off, can't he? Yeah. The humour.
Yeah, is he going to be Indiana Jones as well? I heard that they wanted him to be Indiana Jones
Yeah, it would make perfect sense,
instead,
wouldn't
instead
it?
of Harrison Ford.
Yeah, I wondered whether this was going to be a misstep for him because, of course, he's secured himself a kind of an indie hit with Guardians of the Galaxy. But this has obviously now elevated him to, top of the list, really, for Hollywood.
Yeah, women love him, guys want to be him, so we'll watch anything with him in it. So,
Yeah. Talking about the original Indiana Jones, then.
Original Harrison Ford.
Yeah,
So
the
that
original.
segue I just handed you.
You did, thanks very much. It's like we've rehearsed it. And Harrison Ford, the other big news that came out this week in the world of comics is that apparently Han Solo had a wife. This is in the Disney rebooted Star Wars comics that we never knew about. And he gets both Han and Princess Leia on holiday, presumably, in Tatooine. And his wife comes up to him and says, "Hey, I've had enough of this."
Oh, wait, hang on. So, sorry. So they were married during the events of...
Han Solo was
the original
already
trilogy?
married when he met
Oh, right, I didn't get that. I thought you were
Princess
just
Leia.
married since
No.
or something. Wow. Oh, okay.
No, he was
Yeah,
a-
definitely have to look back at those films again.
It was an adulterer, but that makes
He
perfect
never,
sense, doesn't it?
you know what? He never said he loved her. He never said he loved her. He said, I know. He never said he loved her. It's all right. It's okay.
Original bad boy. But it does
Clever
kind
Han.
of it makes sense. I know you were saying, weren't you, that Han Solo was a bit of a creepy character.
Yes, well, looking back on it now, especially because these comics are canon, so this is something she could be in the next film for all we know. But looking back as him as a 34-year-old married man and Leia as a 19-year-old girl in a bikini, it's a bit, I'm going to watch those films again.
Yeah.
I think.
Definitely. And that's all we've got time for, really, I think, on this week. And we will promise to rehearse again next week so we can have more witty banter. Please join us again, won't you, for Heroes for Sale.
Who shot ya?